Hello, and welcome to episode 100 of Anime Territory. We did it. Syndication, folks. We can do it. Watch for reruns on the WB this fall.
I don't think the WB exists anymore.
Well, they better watch for it. If they want to get our reruns, it's going to be on the WB. I'm not...
The WB or WB Kids?
Well, we're going to be on the Fox Box in the morning, and then WB Kids in the afternoon.
Okay. I don't know what any of that means, but go for it.
You were paying too much attention to Nickelodeon and Disney as a child. You weren't trying to get the after school WB going on like I was.
Nope.
Or the Saturday morning Fox Box.
Nope.
Okay. Well, those were the premier anime destinations for me as a child. That and Toonami on Cartoon Network. So anyway, this is episode 100. Sort of. If you count our Helsing Ultimate Halloween special, this would actually be episode 101. But I did not give it an episode number, and we've ignored it in the episode number since then. So this is episode 100. That one's kind of long, too. And we had to move the beginning of it to the end, because Brock and I talked too much.
Are you going to introduce us?
Yeah, I'll do that. I'm getting to it. All right.
Make sure you didn't forget.
I am your host this week with a cold, Johnny Ruhal. With me, as always, is my co-host, Benjamin Shabbing is Dead Mismatch.
Okay.
Would you have preferred Benjamin Human is Dead Mismatch? Benjamin
I mean, probably that one.
Shabbing or Benjamin El Sai Kangaroo. No, it's Kangaroo Shabbing.
No, that's probably fine. What about like Squishy Banana?
Squishy Chelnana. Juicy Chicken number 1 Shabbing. Benjamin Juicy Chicken number 1 Shabbing. Benjamin Metal Upa Shabbing. Benjamin The Organization Shabbing. Benjamin Zazombie Shabbing. Benjamin Celeb 17 Shabbing. Benjamin My Assistant Shabbing. Benjamin
I don't like
Christina Shabbing.
How many people have realized what show we're doing?
I mean, it's in the title of the episode, so
that is true.
I hope all of them are. I realize that we're talking about.
Okay, so how many
Steins
people
Gate.
realize what these references are? Not just like, what are they talking about?
We're referencing Blank Check. How Ben Hosley has a bunch of nicknames.
Okay.
Because I don't know. I know Steins Gate Zero or Steins Gate actually probably Steins Gate Zero, but. Steins Gate for sure came out before the first episode of Blank Check, but do you think there was time travel shenanigans and the writers of Steins Gate stole that bit from Blank Check? Because there's no way Blank Check...
No, I just think...
The only person that maybe
crazy.
Knows... The only person involved with Blank Check that maybe knows about the existence of Steins Gate would be one David the Dog Sims.
Yes. You're correct about
and he
that.
would probably just know about the existence. I don't think he's watched the show, but no way he's read the visual novel.
Depends how big it was in England.
Okay, well, was he living in England in 2009 when the visual novel came out?
I don't know.
Or 2011? I don't know his timeline either. Sorry, awkward pause because I need water because my voice is crap right now. I think the louder I go, the more I sound like myself.
Okay.
I don't know. There's going to be a weird energy on this one.
Mm-hmm.
It's already got a weird energy.
So we're talking Steins Gate.
Yeah. This is one of our favorite shows.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go ahead and say right now, 10 out of 10 show.
Yeah, 10 out of 10. Masterpiece.
I will also say this time watching it, I've seen this show too many times. The feels don't hit the same. I just sort of, it feels like I'm taking a back seat when I'm watching it because I just know every twist and turn that's happening.
There were still some that hit me.
Okay.
I think this is maybe the 3rd time I've watched.
This is probably my 6th or 7th time that I've seen this show. The last time that I watched it, it started to hit me of like, okay, like they're doing color desaturation right here, and that's kind of like something that I probably didn't notice the first times watching it. So it gets into the area where it's a little like, oh, okay, they're intentionally like, I don't know, maybe they're not being subtle enough or something. But I think it took that many watch throughs for me to get to that point. I'm not going to detract points for that. I think it's more a problem with my familiarity with everything that, like, the darkness of it, just fell flat for me the last 2 watch throughs, but not any of the other watch throughs. So,
okay.
I mean, do you want to give your spoiler-free thoughts on it before we just dive into shit?
Sure. I wrote something down, actually.
Okay.
The show is a masterpiece. A smart and intriguing sci-fi that has loads of drama, tension, and doses of comedy, romance, and harem elements. The show has everything someone would want in an anime. The acting and writing are terrific for such a dense and complex story about time travel. I don't think I was super confused or lost about what was happening.
Okay.
So everything about it is just perfect.
Okay. So, we should also note, moving forward, we're going to be talking, I'm just going to say blanket spoilers for everything, including Steins Gate Zero, but we are not going to be talking much about Steins Gate Zero, because we did not rewatch that for this.
We did not.
It's been a long time since I've watched it.
Yes.
There's only a few things that pick out in my brain as far as, like, some of the ending stuff, and, like, I think episode 8 sticks out of that one, because that's when, like, somebody else uses a time machine and he shifts back to a world where Kurisu exists.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. So I already gave the blanket spoilers, so we're good to talk about that.
Okay.
But, like, that's the only episode with, like, traditional Kurisu in it. Otherwise, you just have AI Kurisu, and it's not the same.
It's not the same.
Though it's a good simulacrum, that's for sure. Okay. But we are going to be talking fairly extensively about the original show.
Mm-hmm.
I will be giving some insights into the alternate visual novel endings. Keeping in mind that it's been a long time since I've read the visual novel, and I never got the Mayuri ending because that required playing through the game again and triggering no true ending flags. You have to trigger all the true ending flags to get the true ending.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to trigger none of them to get the Mayuri ending. And
Okay.
normally you trigger 1 or 2 of them.
Yeah.
And you get the quote-unquote normal ending or whatever. And then there's just, like, the different harem endings, I guess is what you would call them.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk... I'm just kind of sort of gathering what I all want to talk about. I want to talk about the time travel of the show for a bit at some point. I want to talk about... Oh, I don't remember what I was going to say. We're talking about the original show, part of the visual novel. We're talking about the OVA, and we're talking about Steins Gate, the movie, Load Region of Deja Vu. So that is what we're going to be talking about extensively, those things today.
Mm-hmm.
And then we might dip into Steins Gate Zero for the few things that we remember. I want to talk about, like, sort of, I guess, a retcon from Steins Gate Zero, but it could just be that the people that made the visual novel didn't care about the OVA in the movie. But otherwise, I think it all can fit in canonically, except for one little piece of things here. But was there anything you wanted to say before I just start devolving into madness?
No, I think we just need to just dive into it.
Okay, so let's talk about how time travel works in this show, and how I think they are consistent with their rules, and they don't just do time travel as magic at the end to get the plot point that we want.
Okay.
Because a lot of movies, the time travel is not consistent. They need to resolve the story, so they change how it works to get it to work the way they want. There are several examples of instances that don't do that. One that comes to mind that we've covered on this show is Tatami Time Machine Blues. I'm pretty for sure, a perfect loop time story. There's no flaws in there.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a perfect loop time story because they don't just do looping. They have a consistent method of time travel.
Yes.
So their idea of time and how time travel can function. There's basically everybody exists either, and this is where the show is vague and how the movie makes it a little less vague. I will not pretend that the movie follows these same rules. I can't. Mm-hmm. I think there's some hand waving going on in the movie. So I will not put that up for debate. But either there are several world lines that exist simultaneously, and we're all living in all of them at all times, and we have an interconnected soul that can access memories tied to powerful emotions. Mm. Or there are several world lines, and all of them but one are dead until something happens where we break free and move to that other world line. World lines are constantly branching based off of decisions, but they're also constantly coming together into terminal points. But then there's other world lines that do not come together at that terminal point. That's that 1% divergence barrier sort of thing. So either we're all living in all of them simultaneously, and some people, can access memories based off of powerful emotional responses, with our main character just always remembering the previous world line he was actively in.
Because of his ability.
And his mind from that world line shifts to his body in different world lines. Or we all exist in one world line, and we all move world lines whenever something shifts, and our memories get overwritten with what that world line's memories would have been.
Yes.
And again, powerful emotions can access memories from previous world lines, except for, of course, our main character, who through something that they hint at in his youth causes him to remember previous world lines. So
correct.
It's a very, very brief thing when they mention, like, oh yeah, when you're like looking weird, anytime your reading Steiner activates, you acted like that once as a child, which I think is implied to be around Y2K. So, and like John Titor, original timeline John Titor, traveled to the year 2000 in that world line, and that might have been what caused the world line to shift there. But that is the show's understanding of time. And then there's 3 ways of interacting with time and the world lines. Way number 1 is probably the most powerful but the least control, which is what I'm going to call, that's what D-mails are.
Okay.
So we can send an email to the past to basically influence events. Now, it can sputter out and do nothing.
Yep.
And or it technically moves world lines, but it's such a small jump that the only difference is you have an email in your inbox that you didn't change what you were doing. Which is pretty much like all the D-mail tests that they get are that type of D-mail, where it's like, okay, yeah, we got the messages, but reading Steiner didn't trigger, we didn't change the world line by a noticeable fraction, so like our memories have not been reset or whatever. But then they also can be very drastic depending on the message and how the person receives it, interacts with it. This is the main way that people, or that the show changes the world lines at the beginning of the show here. That beep sound was somebody talking to me. I can't do that. It's from the I Fight Dragons written media sub-Discord group talking about Brandon Sanderson. I wish my computer wouldn't make a beep when I'm recording, but whatever. D-mails. Most powerful, least amount of control over that power.
You think they're the most powerful?
I think so. I'll talk about the third way, which is arguably the best way of doing time travel.
Okay.
But that's way number 1. I think it has the most power for uncontrollable side effects.
Yeah, it's definitely the most uncontrollable.
Yes. And I think because it can have such a wide range of side effects, that's what I mean by most powerful, is can affect the most change.
Gotcha.
Now we have our second way of time travel gets introduced about the midpoint, which is time leaps. So time leaps, again, do change the world line because different actions get taken. but they can't escape. It doesn't change the world line enough to register on the world line meter that they eventually get. But different things happen, you know. Mm-hmm. But it all still converges in the same point. Namely, because we're in spoilers here.
Yes.
He cannot prevent Mayuri's death because it all converges on that point there. That's a fixed point in that world line. But he has the most control over the changes because he's actively doing them and living out those changes in the world.
Yes.
So second way, most control, least amount of power, in my opinion.
Okay.
Now, D-Mails can have, like, next to no power, but D-Mails' range of power is the biggest, I think. And then our third way of doing time travel is kind of our middle ground. You know, you have more power than you do with a time leap, but you don't have and you have more control than you do with a D-Mail. And that is with the true time machine. When you physically go back in time. So you are now a second entity at that point in time affecting the world.
I don't know. It's almost like they're least controlled in some way, just because, like,
well, you have to be very careful with it. Because the other thing is that you are an observer of this world. You cannot change your own observation of the past. Yeah. So if you want to make effective change, you have to trick your past self into thinking that they see the same thing that you remember, but having an actually different result. And that is the only way to truly change the world lines with a time machine, is to have a detailed plan to trick yourself, because you cannot affect your own memories, which is why you have no control with time leaps, because you are not an outside force in that. You are still yourself, and you can't change that predetermined event. Because your memories of that predetermined event are part of what, you know, you have to be an observer of those events still. Which they sort of get into the movie of, like, Makise becoming an observer of this world when she time leaps, and it's this whole thing. But again, I don't want to put what happens in the movie too much.
Yeah, we should focus on the actual show.
Yeah. So I think with what they do, the one piece that was brought up to me when I was when we were in college, and I talked through this whole, like, hey, here's what happened. Mm-hmm. I was talking through with a different friend of ours, one of my college roommates, and he's like, well, at the end of the show, he goes back, he fails to save Makise.
Yes.
And that's like how we get the Steins Gate Zero timeline that inspires him to figure out this plan, go back a second time, and then do the trick here. Which is, again, that's Okabe that we don't see, making sure that he doesn't change his own observation of events. Like, he needed to make sure that we live through that pain so that he could become inspired to do this thing. So the second time travel, this roommate was like, why, when he went back into that second time travel, did he not see himself from the first time travel? Why weren't there 3 Okabes running around affecting the world line there? And the reason, and I think the visual novel touches upon this briefly, when you do the physical time machine, you are moving to a different world line. It's just such a minuscule change, it doesn't register on the meter.
Yeah, I gotcha.
The timeline then will jump whenever you are able to trick yourself and change the event that happened. So, when we are in episode 1, and, like, we hear a scream that we don't know where that comes from, we see, like, Makise react of, like, I just talked to you in the hallway, and he's like, I don't know what you're talking about, and he sees the blood. That is the first failed attempt. We are experiencing that failed attempt right there.
Correct. I agree.
Because the key of this is that he still had, they pulled the metal Upa.
Yes.
In the second one, he grabs the metal Upa, an event that was not big enough, though it had repercussions. It was an event that was not big enough to register into his memory, per se. So he was able to change that amount. The part that he couldn't change was seeing Makise Kurusu lying in a puddle of blood. That was the event that he needed to keep observed. He could change the UPA. It wasn't a big enough thing to really register in his memory. So when he goes back the second time, he is in a different world line than we are in episode 1. And we effectively change the world line and affect the future with the UPA change, and the Makise not actually being dead changes the world line enough that he both keeps his observed memories and we're able to shift the world line. So that is why this time travel is consistent and is not hand wavy. I hope that all makes sense. If you have any questions, at me on Twitter. I'll fight you all day about this. I will go
talk
3
about
rounds.
that time where
if you want to pull out visual novel stuff and contradict me, you'll probably win the argument. But
so we spent like 2 hours one time figuring this out.
I think it was more that I spent 2 hours trying to make sure that you understood what the hell I was talking about.
I understood it.
Do you have any questions about how the time travel and time works in there and how the timeline goes?
No.
Okay.
Again, I know.
Okay. It's been a while. I'm sorry.
I was there.
You were there when the courage of men failed?
No, I was there when we made the timeline.
Oh, man, I'm so sorry. I need a drink. I'm so sorry, audience. By audience, I guess I mean Brock.
Yeah, we got a couple listeners.
I tried to reach out to all of our past guests to see if they wanted to come on or send in a clip, and I reached out too late.
Oh, okay.
Two people... One person didn't respond. That would be Pants. Which is normal.
Yeah.
That just means no, he's not interested.
Or he's coming.
One person said they were busy. And then I said, okay, but you could record something and send it in. And they didn't respond to that. That was Joe.
Okay.
Brock said, I'm working that weekend. I'd love to be on the 100th episode, but I don't have enough time to get something recorded, and I can't come and record because I'm working, which is a valid response. I guess Alex never responded.
Okay.
Which he's been like, I've been trying to get him to watch the show for a long time, and he's just not gotten into it. To the point where, like, I just don't bring it up anymore because if I do, he's going to get mad at me. Dylan responded that he still hasn't seen the show and he's only seen the movie, so he could come on and be comical support. And I said, well, if you're going to do that, you should send us a clip. No response. But he's probably also getting over being sick like I am. He was, or at least he was sick the same day that I was sick, but maybe he's already over it. I don't know. Anyway, I'm calling them out. What the fuck, guys? Did you guys like Steins Gate?
Maybe they don't like Steins Gate. They don't want to hurt your feelings.
Joe likes Steins Gate. Brock likes Steins Gate.
Did we watch some Steins Gate when we went to his house?
Probably. That sounds like me. That was a weird. That was a weird 24 hours.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah.
We had a good time.
That's how I met Joe.
Yeah, I know. I know that's how you met him. We went and spent 24 hours in his hometown. I barely knew him at that point, but I wanted to see Guardians of the Galaxy theaters again, so I'm like, fuck it, I'll drive 2 hours. Oh, man.
Anyways, so we went through the timeline stuff for the most part, or how the time travel works.
Yeah. So I'd like to talk about release dates here for a little bit, and then talk about the one change that kind of breaks OVA and movie continuity.
Okay.
So the visual novel came out in Japan in 2009. I don't think it came out in America until like 2014. The series came out in 2011.
Okay. I always thought the series was earlier than that.
Nope. Visual novel 2009. It takes place in 2010.
Okay, that's probably what I'm thinking.
And the series come out 2011. The OVA came out maybe 5 months later. It's like September to February.
Okay.
But that was 2012 is when the OVA came out. Now the OVA has no connection to the visual novel. I mean, like, I shouldn't say no connection, but like it does not exist in visual novel format. So it's completely new information. The movie came out in 2013.
Okay.
There was like 3 like short little 5-minute clip things that came out when IBM, the actual company, as opposed to IBM, the company that's in they had like some other like computer, or maybe like Watson was big at that point, come out. They released like 3 Steins Gate clips. I don't know when that was. I just now remember that those exist and I've seen them. That came out at some point. Mm-hmm. Steins Gate Zero visual novel did not release until 2015. So this was, the next visual novel sequel to Steins Gate. And they in the OVA and in the movie, they like briefly reference Suzuha's mom. There's like a character that looks just like Suzuha but has sort of pinkish brownish hair in the OVA. And then there's sort of like a thing where they're like, oh, Daru made an online girlfriend. And then they show like a picture of basically the same character. In the Steins Gate Zero anime, I don't know in the visual novel because I haven't actually read the visual novel for Steins Gate Zero, but in the anime, that character has the same name as the character they give in the movie, but just completely different appearance. So that's like the one like change is that, well, it's also like a friend of Mayuri's as opposed to somebody that Daru met online, which I think you correctly said, well, that could just be a world line difference. Yeah. But this is just like a completely different character design is the thing. Which is the only thing that like really breaks.
If it wasn't for the name, there could be an explanation for it. But
it's the same name that's in the movie. The name I don't think is given in the OVA. At least I don't remember her giving a name.
I don't remember either.
In the OVA. But in the movie, they give, I think it was Amane Yuki is the name. Is the same name as in the other anime. It's implied to be Suzuha's mom. And or maybe outright stated that it's Suzuha's mom. I don't remember exactly what happens with the time jump in Zero. But just completely different character design.
I've forgotten Steins Gate Zero. Daru gets hot.
Yeah, he gets skinny in the future. Which I guess you say skinny equals hot, but okay, whatever, man. I think he gets hot when he gets the suspenders. But yeah, so that's like the only thing where I'm like, okay, is the OVA and the movie canon? And to me, yes, fuck you, they are. We're just going to ignore the design change is the thing.
That was a creative choice to make you realize that.
Well, I think it was a creative choice to get Amane Suzuha's voice actress into the OVA somehow. Yeah. And then in the movie, they're like, fuck it, let's reference it. We're going to have Suzuha come back in the movie anyway. But that's just... I'm going to say, other than the kind of... I can't vouch for the validity of the time travel in the movie. I'm going to count the movie, because I like the movie.
I do like the movie.
And I think it's got a lot of cute moments and just ships so hard. Spoilers, our favorite ship.
It's a Makise movie.
Yes. She is the main character. So she's got to save Okabe instead of the other way around. So, before we go too far into the movie, can I tell you this time around my couple of gripes about Steins Gate?
Sure.
Ferris and Ruka just are really not characters.
There's a lot less Ruka than I realized.
Yes. They keep throwing Ruka in at times, but she really doesn't do anything. And I do say she when talking about Ruka most of the time. Okay. There is a debate about whether or not Ruka is gay or trans. I think the creators and writers have said that Ruka canonically is not trans but is gay and just wants to be a woman because she loves Okabe, and that's against It'd just be easier. She's like, it'd be easier for me if I was a woman, sort of thing. I think a lot of trans people, and I cannot speak for them, but I think they identify with Ruka, and I have always read her as trans at this point, or wanting to be trans and possibly closeted trans. Anyway, I'm gonna call Ruka she most of the time. And in one of the world lines, one of the alternate endings of the visual novel, she stays a woman, just as she goes a baby. But anyway, I digress. They're just really barely characters.
Okay. Ferris, I still think, has kind of an important role in the show.
I mean, they each have a role in the show.
Yeah.
It's just when their role is over with, they're put to the side and they're not characters anymore.
I think you can kind of argue that with almost any character, though.
I don't think you can argue that with Mayuri, Daru, Okabe, and Makise. Those are and even I would say like Moeka is the next like tier of like, okay, there's just times when she's just straight up not in the show. But I still think her character is vitally important to the show. Whereas if Ferris and Ruka's characters didn't exist and they just had 2 more D-males for some other reason, same plot of the show. Like, that's what I guess I'm getting at. Suzuha, I think, also is an important character, but maybe more at the, not in it as much, but I think still vitally important to the plot of the show. Yeah. Whereas Ruka and Ferris, before rewatching this show, I don't know if I would have been able to tell you which order they did the D-males in. I think I would have gotten it right, but I could not 100% have told you. Yeah, Ruka's is first, but I don't know if I would have known that before the most recent rewatch, because it's just like, well, Ruka does hers and Ferris does hers, and they have to undo it, and it's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
They each get like an episode
it's
devoted
kind of a big deal to them.
Yes. I just like to each get an episode devoted to.
So like those are more like emotionally.
Yes.
Charged might not be the right word, but like charged episodes, not necessarily like plot.
Yeah, I would say Moeka's is pretty emotionally.
I'm not
charged.
talking about Moeka's. I'm talking Ruka's and Ferris.
Yeah, I'm just saying I would compare the emotions in the Moeka arc to be similar to those.
Okay.
Or just less sympathetic to Moeka.
I should too, because
Mr.
I'm
Brown.
technically a Moeka stan. At least you think I am.
I swear the last time we watched this show, you were doing a bit where you were like, Moeka does nothing wrong.
That does sound like me.
But you had forgotten about the bit when we watched it this time, so you weren't committed to it.
I was opposite. Like, screw her.
But yeah, that's like my one gripe is like, okay, like Ferris especially, but a little bit Ruka, they're barely characters in the show. As much as I like Ruka,
and we have a whole principle based on him.
Yes, we do. There is Ruka's the double trap. I once was at a convention arguing for best trap. I just like they had a panel for best trap, and I volunteered to defend Ruka, and like I lost that to JoJo because everyone in the audience is just JoJo's Bizarre Adventure fans, and they were doing it for the bit. Like the guy didn't have any arguments other than it's JoJo, but like I had a very valid argument that she's the double trap. You know, you never know which one you're gonna get. You fell for it twice.
Yes,
she switched. She's a switch trap. Okay. Yeah. I guess that, like I said, this time and the last time around, is the desaturation and the like intentional like this is dark was sort of, I don't know, like not affecting me the same way.
Okay.
And it's just like the slow realization of this characters just are not in the show much. Did you have any gripes that you can think of?
No, not really.
Okay. So,
no gripes.
Do you understand, if maybe not agree with, but do you understand my gripes with
Yeah,
things?
I got you.
Okay.
I can understand, I think, people's gripes with the show. I think the main thing is, like, a lot of people think it's slow. Like, nothing happens at the beginning.
Yes, that's what I hear a lot. Well, and the problem is when people have seen the show, are like trying to get people to watch it, they're like, it's very hard to not say, like, well, shit just hits the fan episode 12.
Yeah.
And, like, it just becomes a different show at that point. So, like, I like the beginning, and I like that it's kind of a slow build-up.
That's what I like that, too.
And you pointed out this time around, it's like, there's plenty of, like, hints at deeper shit going on. Like, the hacking into CERN, and Okabe getting text messages, and, you know, oh shits, whenever they change the world lines happening. But it definitely feels like okay, this is the show that it is, and then things hit a rail and go 100 miles an hour for a couple of episodes, and then we start like slowing back down again as we start reversing the D-mails and undoing what we did in the beginning of the show. So like I can see people's complaint that it's a slow beginning, but to me that's just not a complaint. Like, yes, it is slow at the beginning. Yes, we spend a lot of time with these characters because
yes, they give a lot of dialogue about.
You want to care about these characters.
You need to know this stuff, and it makes sense. Yeah,
and there's still plenty of things to like hook you as like, oh, shit's changing.
Yeah. I think like one of the maybe coolest ones is like Ferris's.
Yeah,
when the whole city changes, it's like, oh shit.
that was part of the D-mails can be fucking powerful.
Yeah.
Like.
Because you have your first one. That's just your first, like, oh, something happened.
Yeah, so the first one is just something happened. The second one, the world line shifts enough for a character to buy a lottery ticket. The third one, is that the one, that's Moeka's, right?
I think so.
And that one is just the stealing of the IBN 5100.
Yeah, they don't have it anymore.
Yeah, because she changes the message last minute and tells them where the IBN 5100 is. And then the next one changes a person's gender, which was probably more just dumb luck than anything else.
Oh, yeah. But that one just like, oh, something happened, but we don't know what. I guess.
Yeah, his reading Steiner triggered, but he's like, I don't know, she's still flat as a board, or he's still flat as a board. Later we learn to change gender. And then Ferris's changes the whole city, and we're like, well, fuck. This is who else? What else has changed that we don't know about? Because like clearly with the Ruka one, something changed, and I don't know what it is. The inherent problem is that he does not have memories of the New World Line, and the other people that do have memories don't think to tell him, "Hey, this is different," because they don't know that it's different.
So yeah, I think that's just. To me, that's enough to keep you engaged. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. So,
yeah. And it's just, I think part of the problem is that a lot of people sell the show as, you power through the beginning and then you get to episode 12 and it goes crazy. And like some people are like, well, I don't want to wait till episode 12 for something to go crazy. I'm like, no, it's good. Up through then. It's just,
there's some crazy stuff.
There's an oh shit moment right then that it changes the show. I have a few other notes here. Number one, the show is actually less horny than the visual novel.
Oh, really?
In that they tone down Mayuri and Suzuha's breast size in the show.
Mayuri's and Suzuha's?
Yeah, they got bigger boobs in the visual novel.
Alright, gotta play the visual novel. Okay.
That's all I really meant. I was recently on the Steins Gate subreddit, which is actually just devoted to all the science adventure games, Chaos Head, Robotics Notes, that sort of stuff. But somebody was like, "Man, Steins Gate Zero Mayuri has just got some way improved boobs," and they're like, "Actually, that was a visual novel." I'm like, "Oh, I didn't realize they were that big in the visual novel." Like, yeah, they toned it down for the original show, and they did not tone it down for Steins Gate Zero.
I don't think I noticed that.
Yeah, I didn't either, but it's more pronounced. And I'm like, okay, well, props to the people who made the show to just not like have all the characters with humongous rats, except for Ruka. That would have been mean. Kurisu is, I think, the same as well. But,
Okay.
So yeah, I just wanted to note that it's refreshing.
It's so pretty horny.
Japan went backwards with their horny, which is impressive.
Gotcha.
Which I guess you could say the same for like Fate Stay Night was.
It also could have been just like an animation trick. It's like, let's just tone these down a bit to make it a little easier.
Well, and like somebody on the comments on that post was just saying like, I mean, I think it's just you have different frames for the characters too, so they weren't all the same model basically. And then I can talk a little bit about the different endings to the visual novel if you'd like. Like I said, I never got the Mairuri one. I kind of touched. I told you what the Suzuha one was when we were watching.
Yeah.
I sort of like hinted at the Ruka one.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to look up the Ferris one because I didn't remember it. But we don't have to talk about that.
Yeah, let's not talk about it.
Okay. Let's see.
Any other notes?
Shabbing is dead. Mismatch. I don't have any other notes written down, but did you want to go into ranking best girls?
Okay. We can do that.
So I think we just go from the top to the bottom, try to figure it out. Number 1, I think we're in agreement. Best girl, Makise Kurisu.
Yep.
Also, my only dibs, so we'll just go ahead and throw this.
Oh, dibs count.
We made a deal. I get Makise Kurisu. Shab's got every other character.
Every other character's mine.
Yep.
I kind of regret that deal.
That's right, you do. Did I call dibs on Makise in the movie just in case?
Yeah.
I think so, because I'm like...
I was under the I was thinking about doing it, but I'm like, nah, we'll keep... I don't know.
I don't think I called dibs on anybody else, so I think the deal stands.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, I could see him saying that this is not the show, this is the movie.
Oh, I was definitely thinking it. I just didn't say anything.
So I grabbed control there, just in case. So, but yeah, that's our dibs count. I'm happy with the deal.
Mm-hmm.
Could I have gotten... Is there a possibility that when I played I would have gotten more? Sure. Is there a bigger possibility that I would have lost Makise? Most definitely.
I think we would have tied. I would have to go down to...
Well, the last time we did this and we called dibs, I recognized her shoes and her whole character wasn't in place. That was gonna be my play.
I'm pretty sure in this one it's just her sleeve, like her arm.
It was the first time that we see her. Okay.
I noticed the arm, so I don't know if you noticed it. It would have been close.
I think next time we just gotta go at it. Next time we watch the show,
and immediately quit when whoever wins.
Yeah.
We just watch the first episode to see who wins.
Maybe. It depends on how long we wait. I think
we just invite 6 people. It's like, this is the game.
Okay, so number 2, and we can have different ones here, but who would you put forward as number 2?
I mean, in terms of the show,
not in terms of the show. In terms
just my
of
personal.
Yes.
I really like Suzuha.
Okay. So I think, in terms of the show, were you gonna say Mairuri?
Yeah.
I think that's the right call. If we're going personal favorites, I think my number 2 may still be Mairuri, but it'd be a close call with Ruka.
Mm-hmm.
Ruka's the only one that I really felt bad about letting go, letting you have.
Ruka is just, again,
she's
she's not
an interesting
in it that
pick.
much.
I know. Suzuha is definitely up there. I think those 3 are the next tier for me.
Okay.
It's Mairuri, Suzuha, and Ruka.
It's Makise Kurisu on that.
Yeah, on the mountaintop.
Yeah.
And then 100 feet up is those 3.
Mm-hmm.
It's a steep climb to knock down the king or queen, I guess, in this scenario. But then I would probably put Ferris before Moeka. I know you like Moeka better.
No, that's fair.
Moeka's got bigger boobs, which I think is a thing. Because when we were watching
there's that scene in her apartment, and we're like, hello.
Yeah.
But
when he sexually assaults her. try to change the future.
I don't know. Ferris is kind of annoying.
Yeah, Ferris is. Annoying.
I would not jive.
I think I could jive with Ferris, but I would be like, okay, can we talk now?
I'm changing. Moeka is above her. Me and Moeka could get along.
You and Moeka would just sit in a room not talking
for
hours.
Sounds great.
I mean, are we missing anybody? Any main characters? I don't think.
There's that weather girl from that.
Oh yeah, there's the weather girl. There's the no cell phone. There's the lady that owns the beef bowl shop that says no cell phones.
Does that person
I'm
Mayuri runs into the street, or was that this beef bowl lady?
What?
Mayuri has like a conversation with somebody on the street. It's like an older lady.
I think she has a conversation with a cosplay friend of hers.
No, okay, never mind.
Yeah, no, I think those are fair. I can't argue with putting Ferris last, though I think I would put her above Moeka. Mm-hmm. I think Moeka is just like bland to me.
I'm okay with that.
Because you're bland.
I'm bland.
I mean, I feel like we should try to hit frag time.
I got a question for you.
Okay.
Obviously, Okabe and Kurisu is the ship.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
What is the second?
Okabe and Ruka.
And Ruka.
That's my second ship.
Okay. My hot take is I think Okabe and Ferris work a little bit better together.
Okabe and Ferris do work together. The only canonical thing I can say is that canonically, Makise and Okabe love each other. Mm-hmm. Canonically, Ruka loves Okabe. Okay. Canonically, Okabe and Mayuri are like best friends.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not even on my. They're not.
Yeah, no. They're not. They're not a romantic pair.
I did not. Them and Okabe and Suzuha is not on the list either.
Yeah, no. There's too much of a mentor-mentee situation with Okabe and Suzuha. And Okabe is just way too fatherly and protective towards Mayuri than anything else. I'm I could see first time watching the show thinking that they might be a thing, but they're just not compatible romantically. Because I just don't think Mayuri is really compatible romantically with anybody. She just does not have the personality of somebody that would fall head over heels in love with somebody. Which is strange because she's also the most motherly. Yeah. So I don't know.
What about her and Ruka?
They do share a bed in the OVA. I mean, I could see that as a ship. I get it, I guess.
Something about it.
I think Mayuri is fond of Ruka, but in the same way that she's fond of Okabe and Daru. Yeah. I just don't see her romantically involved with anybody. Yeah. But maybe that's just I just haven't seen the story where that happens. It's also in the visual novel. I'll talk about one of the endings now. The Ruka ending where they don't change that she's a girl. Okabe and Ruka get together. Yeah. But in the Ferris ending, Okabe and Ferris get together too. Mm-hmm. In the Suzuha ending, they do not get together romantically, really. It is hey, you've been time leaping too much. This is wearing you down. Let's try to time travel back to the future together instead of me going back myself, and let's try to change the world. Which again can be taken as yes, you could take that romantically, but I took it more as all right, let's go save the world sort of thing.
Like a Doc and Marty.
Yeah, I guess. Sure.
I'd ship those two though.
You ship Doc and Marty? Okay.
Marty, we gotta go back to the future.
But yeah, I Ferris and Okabe definitely get along well. They
they're both weird.
Yes. Though Ferris is Okabe gives all his delusions and makes shit up, and Ferris just runs with it. And then his monologue in the visual novel is always just dear God, this woman is too much.
Oh, really?
She's always lost in her fantasies. It's just like he's such a hypocrite towards her.
Wow.
But like, yeah, I can definitely see the interest level being there. But especially during like the Ferris undoing episode, there was definitely some tones of like, oh yeah, this is sort of a harem, I guess, but neither of them are really like serious about each other until the Ferris ending, when it's like, oh well, it's just the two of us as friends, and none of the rest of them know us. But I don't really ship Moeka with anybody.
Yeah.
I don't ship Nai with anybody because I'm not a monster.
Daru's just, you can't.
I mean, canonically, Daru has sex with somebody at some point. But that's it. We'll ship him with Amane Yuki just because I can't imagine him acting the way he does around any of the other female characters in this show. I think he needs to mature a bit before he meets Amane Yuki.
So I guess another question I have for you. In your, like, best girl of all time rankings, where's Kurisu?
Either number 1 or number 2.
Number 1 or number 2? Okay.
Yeah, it's really hard to judge whether I like Kurisu better than Haruhi Suzumiya. It's
Which
tough.
I figured those were the top 2.
Yeah,
I didn't know if you had, like, a definitive one.
Yeah, it's those two. Rei and Asuka are both up there. Shinjo Gahara from the Monogatari series is up there. I feel like there's somebody I'm forgetting right now too, but they're all up there.
Gotcha.
I guess I would say Nia from Gurren Lagann is up there. Is the one that I'm not mentioning.
Okay.
But she's either number 1 or number 2. Depends on the day. Right now, I'd say number 1. After I watched,
are you sure
after I watched Disappearance,
she's not a fan of Dr. Pepper.
No, that's blasphemy. That's movie blasphemy. She is a fan of Dr. Pepper. That's the other thing the movie gets wrong.
Okay.
He says, why do you buy Dr. Pepper? Nobody's particularly fond of it. You are particularly fond of it. You bought Diet Dr. Pepper when you're in the U.S.
Didn't you buy that for Okabe?
She drinks some of it. She drinks the Dr. Pepper that's in the lab. She chooses that over the other drinks.
That is true. So we just gotta... That's just movie blasphemy?
Yeah, it's the movie getting something wrong. They don't understand.
Gotcha.
Because she is... Well, and like... Some of the subs that are out there for Steins Gate are not matching like the official subs. Because there's like screenshots I see of Steins Gate of characters saying like memes and stuff, which is not the subs that we get in the official like Funimation Blu-rays. But I think that's a translation thing. They're trying to like adapt the internet slang references of Japanese internet slang references of that. But one of the things is like I remember distinctly Ho-Oh saying that Dr. Pepper is the choice drink of mad scientists and the chosen one. And in this, it's always just saying like the chosen drink of intellectual. You know, like it's not quite the same quote that I remember.
Okay. I mean, he's right.
But... What is he right about? That it's
the drink for intellectuals.
Yeah, it's a drink for mad scientists, chosen ones, intellectuals.
Yeah.
But like the way that they frame it in this is just not the way that I've seen it framed before, which I guess I was watching maybe like Crunchyroll or Hulu subs, and those are different than the official Funimation ones that came out on the Blu-ray. I don't know. Which is say we watched this subbed. I've seen it dubbed. The dub is fine. I prefer the sub.
Okay.
Because you get some Kana Hanazawa.
Shit, Kana Hanazawa?
Yeah, my name's Kana Hanazawa.
I think it's a good dub, though.
It is a good dub. I like the actors in it. I just, again, I'm not, at this point in my anime career, I don't want translations to U.S. slang.
Gotcha.
I want them to just make the references that they're making, and I'll figure it out.
I think I distinctly remember the sub makes the story make sense more.
I think so too.
So I think the dub, there's some
sub doesn't have any Doctor Who references though.
The what?
The sub doesn't have any Doctor Who references, but
I'm okay with that.
Is it? What's is his actor's name? J. Michael Tatum.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was like one of the dub script writers, and he was a big Whovian, so he put like 2 or 3 Doctor Who references in. Which I'm like, okay, I get it, but I get that you're translating and or adapting. It's a thing, but oh man, my nose! I really want to blow my nose so bad right now, but I do not want to do it on mic.
We can end it.
No, we can't. We got to reach frag time. It's episode 100.
Okay.
We've got 5 minutes to reach frag time.
What do we want to talk about for 5 minutes?
Who? I mean, is Makise your favorite? If you had to pick a favorite character, do you pick Makise or do you pick Okabe?
That's a good question. I think Okabe. I think he's the better character.
Okay.
It's hard because he is the main character.
Yeah, so that's why I'm trying to think of the movie too, where we get to follow Makise a little bit more, and how she interacts with things. I think Okabe is a better character. It's tough. It is tough.
Mm-hmm. It's just he goes through all the. He goes through it all, so like you get more character development with him. Like I say, it's just a little bit more. You get to
see his perspective more. I really like that they just make a point of Kurisu like always like figuring shit out though. Like, wait a minute, you've time leaped, you son of a bitch, you did it.
You promised you wouldn't time leap.
You keep doing it, and like always just being actually supportive is great. I love what they do with Makise in this show. So a little weird that she kissed that little boy in the movie, but
it is weird. Oh, that's like, never mind. I remember I had that thought. Can you have sexual battery?
Yeah, is there sexual assault, but is there sexual battery? I think you can recharge. You can definitely drain the sexual battery.
Gross.
There's those. Have you seen those like web comics of like the dad just spending like all month getting like super fit, and then the next morning after having sex with the mom, he's just drained. He's just a wisp of a man. No, because it's just like she drained his sexual battery.
Okay, do you want to talk about the movie briefly?
Yeah, I can talk about it. So again, the movie is like a classic point of we're gonna put Ferris and Ruka in this, and Moeka I guess in this, but they really have no bearing on the plot.
Yeah, they don't do anything.
Like Daru barely does stuff in this.
The basic plot is what Okabe's memories are kind of caught between 2 different world lines that are very close to each other.
Yeah, he can't, like, things are too good to be true, and all his other world line memories are causing him to, like, freak out. And somehow he's able to magically shift to an empty world line, which is like, does that mean that all the world lines are empty? Because, like, when...
Oh, okay.
Because, like, there was nobody in that world line, you know, but at the end, it's just like all
that
this.
That could have been like a.
It was hand wavy movie bullshit. Is what the time travel turned into at the end of that movie. I think there was some solid time travel stuff in the middle of it, but like the scene where he's like alone on the street, and then it's Makise there, and it's like, "You're coming back to us," and you know, I'm always. You can see me first because I'm always there when you're going between. And it's like. Okay, that's that scene in particular is just bad. But like, is he in a truly empty world line just by himself? You know, and does that lead credence to the theory that I mentioned earlier that like, oh, all the other world lines are empty until somebody inhabits them? But then that kind of makes us sad because when Makise is convincing him to, hey, save my Uri and don't worry about me. You know, she's like, you don't know, I might exist in all these other world lines, you know, and I'll keep going on, and you can have that to hang on to. Like, well, if the other world lines are blank, then we don't have that to hang on to, you know. And he's shifting world lines without physically, like, altering things, and it's like, it's not. I don't like what it implies about how time travel works, but I like, you know, the fact that Makise gets accidentally drunk and is like nuzzling up to him and stuff. That's great. We get more kissing scenes with them. That's great. It was a little weird that she kissed him as a little boy, but that's okay.
That's okay. That's not okay. Let's get this straight. That's not okay. Don't kiss little boys.
Now, to be fair, I think we noted that this would have been at most a 19-year-old kissing a 14-year-old, a 5-year difference, which is wrong. Which is
still
bad.
Wrong.
I know, but it's one of those things where it's like, okay, but you know, it is somebody that is older than her canonically, so I can forgive it, I guess, for the sake of the movie.
For the sake of the movie, yeah,
yes,
sure.
But any other 19-year-old
I get it.
kiss,
It makes sense. It's fun. It's like, yeah, he's going to remember his first kiss. Especially when it's Makise Kurisu.
Yeah, I would remember my first kiss if it was Makise. I do remember my first kiss. It was weird. This was in Hank's basement.
Nice. Does Hank know that?
I don't know. He might. He was there. You were probably there, too. It was dark. We were watching a movie or a show or something.
I don't remember that.
Well, again, it was dark. I didn't draw attention to it.
Do you remember what we were watching?
No.
Okay.
No, I do not. Anyway. I don't know why you would remember my first... Again, I don't know if you were there or not.
Okay. I don't think I was.
All I know is it was a dark room. We were watching something in his basement.
You weren't watching Steins Gate, were you?
Man, it would be weird if we were. I don't think the timeline is right for that. Maybe
it's a different world.
Steins Gate is probably something that we watched senior year of high school, right?
I don't know.
When I started getting into anime again.
I don't remember when we watched Steins Gate first. I don't remember when I watched Steins Gate first.
Yeah, it probably wasn't when I watched it first.
I don't know. It's hard. I got an anime later than you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, is there any other questions that you had? Anything else we want to talk about? I mean, I love this show. I really do. As much as I was griping earlier and saying that it didn't really hit this time, like, I still recognize it as a 10 out of 10 great show, and would want to make sure that everybody that has any interest in the genre, either time travel or anime, should watch it.
Yeah.
Romance should watch it. If you don't have interest in those genres, then no, you shouldn't watch it.
If you like anime, you should watch this show.
Yes, it is a must watch. It should be on every anime watcher's scene list. But yeah, that's episode 100. You want to talk about the future a little bit here? I had the idea that we might stop numbering the episodes just because, like, who cares? We'll just call it whatever.
I'll probably still keep track, but
yeah, we just may not draw attention to the episode because I'm already not drawing attention to the episode number and the titles on YouTube. So, this is going to be what you were referring to. This year is going to be the year of bangers. We're starting out with Steins Gate.
Yeah,
we're going to get to some other bangers this year. Some classical.
The idea is we're going to like stockpile a bunch of like recent anime episodes and then throw some bangers in there.
Yeah, so it's not going to be all bangers all year because we're going to be doing a lot of episodes on shows that are currently airing as they finish. So, you know, we'll be having hopefully soon a Dan to Dan episode and a Blue Box episode and a Ranma 1/2 Season 1 remake episode. Stuff like that will just allow us to build up, number one, let other currently airing shows go through and watch, and number two, so that we can devote time to the slightly longer shows that we have seen before that we love. So just expect more currently airing stuff moving forward with some throwbacks to some real bangers. So You can follow us on X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it. We're at anime_territory. We're on YouTube and podcast platforms as Anime Territory. You can comment. I'm not going to guarantee that I'll see it. You can send a tweet, and I'll probably see it eventually. I check that like a couple times a month. Shoot us a tweet, and I'll send you a sticker if you want it. So you are now leaving the Anime Territory.
El Psi Kongru.